Welcome to All Things Marketing Podcast, the podcast that talks all things marketing for both franchise and multi-location marketing leaders. ATM is brought to you by PureDriven. We'll show you how to turn your brand into a money-making machine. Here's your host, Steve Rockwood.
Hello and welcome to ATM. My name is Steve Rockwood. I'm the marketing manager at PureDriven. Today we are going to talk about how to sell your franchise business successfully. I am joined by special guest Laren Altschuler, business broker at Transworld Business Advisors of Minnesota. Laren, how are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for asking, Steve.
I am glad to hear it. So I just wanted to get you on here because I know that you work in the business world and you've also worked in the franchise world. So I really just wanted to hear your expertise on this. So I guess, Laren, why would a franchisee be looking to sell a franchise?
Probably for the same reasons an independent business owner would want to sell their business. And those reasons include anything from retirement to what we call the 3Ds, death, divorce, or disease. So for health issues, sometimes people want to sell their business. If they want to take their earnings off the table while the industry is hot, so they've been in the industry for a while, they've grown their business, and they want to cash out while the business is trending high. Some people want more family time, so they've spent the last 10 to 20 years working 6 days a week, and now they want to spend time with their friends and their family and taking more vacation. Some people want to sell because they're just getting tired or they're burned out. Some people sell because business trends have changed and the profitability isn't what it used to be, and maybe the bank is putting pressure on them, so they'd rather try to sell than close their doors. Some people sell because they are relocating, and then some people want to pass the business on to the next generation, and that's something that we can help people do as well.
Awesome. Yeah, it always amazes me how many franchise owners are actually in their locations all the time. I mean, they do work a lot for the most part. It's crazy. So I could see the burnout coming into effect.
Yes. So what's unique about franchise as opposed to selling an independent business is that franchises have requirements that independent businesses don't have, and they look more closely at the buyers, and they want the buyers to go through the franchise program so they can make sure that the buyers are right for that industry and that they have what it's going to take to be successful. So that would be what's unique about selling a franchise versus just selling an independent business. So it just takes a little bit longer.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then as far as that process goes, how does a franchisee prepare for a successful sale?
It takes a while. So one of the things that business sellers should do is start thinking about it and preparing for it a year in advance. So if they start to feel the itch, that would be the time to reach out to someone who can help them prepare, whether it's a business broker or an accountant or an attorney or all of the above. What they have to keep in mind is that it takes a while to get everything in order, because the better your financials are, the better your business shows, the higher the sales are, the higher the price and the faster the business will sell. So they should start by preparing their families and themselves. Are they really ready to sell, or will they be ready in a year? They should think about what they want to do after the sale. The sale process can have prolonged periods of no activity followed by a really frantic paced time period. So they should prepare themselves mentally for that. And keep in mind that when they're working with a business broker, one of the things that brokers do is keep the sale confidential, because it's better to sell a business when your customers don't know the business is for sale and your employees don't know the business is for sale. So that's one thing a broker can help with.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I would have thought the confidential thing just for your own sake, but I didn't actually think about it from the employee's sake of knowing that they're possibly going to have a new owner soon. I could see why that would not want to be disclosed too early in the process.
Right. And the other thing that I should emphasize is that the time it takes to prepare your financials, and we can't emphasize this enough, is that you not only have to show the financial performance of the business, but you have to be able to show it for a time period so the buyer can see a trend of how the business has been doing. And so some business owners will want to take as much tax benefits as they can. And so to get the financials in order for the buyer, you have to be able to show that these are legitimate business expenses on the books. So that's something that a broker or an accountant can help with. But 3 years of earnings and balance sheets are usually needed. Businesses can sell with less, but it detracts from the value and it takes longer for the business to sell. I'm sure franchises don't have this problem as much as independent businesses do because they need strong financials for the franchise, for the franchisor. So that wouldn't be as much of an issue with a franchise.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I know that in the franchise world, you're probably being tracked a lot more by the franchisor than you would as a small business where you probably have an accountant who's kind of helping you along the way, but that might be it.
Right. The other thing that businesses can do too to help with the sale is to develop their management team, because buyers want to be able to walk into a business that's running smoothly, that won't need them necessarily on day one, because that gives them more time to transition. So the more the business relies on the owner for the sales and the operations, the less valuable the goodwill is after the owner leaves. So the harder it is for the business owner to sell. So if they know they're going to sell, getting a management team in place is a good step to take.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Actually, a real life story there. One of my best friends is a manager for a huge chain of retailers, and he came to the one near my house about 2 weeks ago, and he walked in, and after he walked out, he goes, "They couldn't pay me enough money to manage that store. Their operations are so gone that I would have to fire everyone and start over, and there's just no way I'd want to do that." So I could definitely see as a manager not wanting to do that. If you were going to buy the company, there's no way you would want to jump into that, that pit.
Yeah, exactly. So if you want to sell your business, really making it appealing to a buyer is the first step. And it might take a year to get it to the point where a buyer could step in easily. You want to make it as turnkey for the buyer as you can. So the other thing that you can do to get ready is to get rid of obsolete inventory and equipment that doesn't work. So either fix it, sell it, or throw it out. If you're playing tax games with inventory, don't do it anymore. It will bite you now or later, and it can bite hard at a sale and maybe even it might even prevent a sale from happening. So check with an accountant, but you want to make sure that your inventory is clean and that it's viable. Gotcha. And that you're not just hoarding it. The other thing that people don't do that they could do is maybe repaint the interior or fix a broken sign or replace light bulbs, clean up the sidewalk. These seem so simple that a lot of business owners don't do it, and they see the business every day. So they don't really see the scuffs on the wall. But if you're going to present your business for sale, even just on the weekend, going in and repainting would do a lot to make it more appealing to buyers.
Yeah, it's almost like presenting a house that you're trying to sell. If it's nicer on the inside than it was when you were in it, it'll probably sell for a lot easier or for more.
It will sell faster and it will sell for more money. The other thing businesses can do, especially if they have a retail front, is to clean the windows and the doors, which businesses don't do on a regular basis. Yeah. The other thing that people can do, there's a few more steps here that they can take, And one of the things that some business owners are really good at, but they haven't written it down, is their processes. So the nice thing about franchises is that they have the processes already down. But if the owner has taken it to the next level and has a good training program, putting that training in writing would help the new buyer feel more confident about taking it over.
Definitely.
So if you have a great idea, put it down on paper. Get advisors on board. One of the things we recommend is that you don't try to sell the business yourself, because you don't know what you don't know. And the nice thing about working with a broker is that we work as a buffer, and we help keep the process going. We help with the due diligence. We can make sure that your business is valued correctly, and we use 3 different methods of valuation. And one thing that some sellers do is they'll consider an expansion prior to a sale. It seems counterintuitive, but if their business is running really smoothly and they have an opportunity to open in another location and they can expand that business easily and quickly, that's another thing that some sellers will do before they list their business for sale.
Gotcha. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And actually, as far as the processes go, I work for PureDriven here. We've been in business for over 10 years. And over the past 3 years, we've been doing the process writing because they realized, the first 6 years here, they did a lot, they discovered a lot, but they didn't write it down. So the past 3 years, we've been going back and actually rewriting all the processes for everything we do here. And the first time a new employee came, it was so much easier.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's one of the things that franchises do really, really well. So most franchises won't have a lot of that to do, which is the good thing. But if there is a particular franchise owner that has created a training program that the franchisor doesn't have, then passing that on to the buyer would just make it easier and make the buyer less afraid of making the purchase. So anything the seller can do to prepare the buyer and make it a smooth transition, the better. One thing that sellers have to understand too is that their opinion of the price of or the value of their business is going to be different than a buyer's opinion. And they should prepare themselves and not take the buyer's opinions personally. So the buyers have different incentives than the sellers do. And so the sellers should keep that in mind when the buyers are negotiating with them.
Yeah, definitely. I have 2 more questions for you. One of them is actually right along that line is oftentimes people view the selling of a franchise as kind of a bad thing, but it can also have a lot of benefits for both the seller and the buyer, as you were just stating. Could you just kind of state a few of the benefits that a seller of a franchise and a buyer would get from this transaction, kind of like a mutually exclusive deal?
Right. So, the benefits to the seller would be, taking the profits off the table before the trends of the business change, taking the profits after their years of hard work. That would be a benefit to the seller. The timing of their exit is important. So it's best to sell when profits are good, when the economy is good. It's kind of best to sell when you least want to sell the business, when it's running so smoothly that you jump out of bed every day and you love going to work. It seems counterintuitive, but that's the best time to sell.
Yep.
So for the buyer, the benefits to buying a franchise over, do you mean what are the benefits over an independent business? What are the benefits to buying a franchise?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess what are the benefits for the buyer of this franchise from the person selling? So obviously the person selling is trying to make some money on the top of what they've already done. I guess as far as the buyer goes, what advantages are they getting because they're buying a franchise that's already kind of at the top?
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of benefits for the buyer. So the one is to take the chance and hit the ground running with a turnkey operation. So the buyer can just open the door and expect sales on day one. They don't have to locate a site. They don't have to negotiate a lease, which takes a lot of time and expense. They don't have to build out the brand new location. They can turn their attention immediately to operations and to growing the business, and they won't be hit with a lot of surprises. So a lot of times the franchise resales come complete with staff and management. And in today's employment environment, this is a huge asset. So the franchise transfer fee is significantly less than an original franchise fee. So many times buyers will look for existing franchises rather than starting from scratch.
Gotcha. And I was actually going to ask you that. I was going to ask if there still was a franchise fee, but I guess that makes sense. They just transfer the transfer fee.
There's a transfer fee
Gotcha.
to transfer, but it's usually a lower cost than paying the initial startup costs with the build out and the training and the marketing. So when someone buys an existing franchise, the marketing has been in place for years and there's already a customer base.
Yeah.
So the franchisee isn't starting over with nothing. They're building on what's already there. For the franchisor, bringing in a new franchisee, the benefit is that they have a new, enthusiastic, energetic person in the driver's seat that will keep the franchise location open and growing and creating goodwill in the community.
Yeah.
Or continuing to create goodwill in the community. So it's really a win-win for everyone, for the seller, for the buyer, and the franchisor.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a win-win-win. That sounds good. And actually, as far as the marketing staying in place, here at PureDriven, we work with franchisees on their marketing. And a lot of the time, if someone sells their franchise, they basically give the new owner our contact info and we pause their strategy. But I'd probably say 95% of the time, the new owner, as soon as they open those doors, they jump back on that strategy that they were already doing. So they definitely have a lot of stuff already in place that they don't have to worry too much about. They can just say, all right, yep, let's start that again. That sounds good.
Well, and you've been building up those marketing efforts build up over time. And so you want to take advantage of the traction that you've gained with your marketing efforts. So that's wise to just keep going with the same program.
Yeah, definitely. Especially on the Google side, if you're doing Google ads, they say about 90 days is what you should be looking at to expect optimization and stuff. So if you're restarting, you're basically starting 3 months behind already, which is rough, especially when you have those expenses from starting that business or buying it again. So yeah, well, I got one more question for you, Laren, and I'm gonna rephrase it than how I wrote it, but I have, what's your favorite part about working in the franchise world? But I'm just going to expand that to what's your favorite part about being a business broker and working in the business world, whether it's franchise or not?
Yeah. Well, my favorite part about being a business broker is being able to help buyers find businesses that they're passionate about. It's about helping sellers get the most for their business and focus on that part for them so that they can focus on running their business. The franchisor will usually be eager to help with buyer recruitment and education. So that's why working with franchises is especially fun. Most franchise reps are extremely capable and are a great source for buyer information. And this makes our job easier. So the post-sale transitions are usually very smooth because of the franchise support and training. And usually once a buyer has determined that a particular franchise is the one for them, the buyers usually become pretty enthusiastic. And so the negotiation goes a little bit more smoothly.
Definitely. Sounds great. And then my final thing for you, Laren, is if people want more information on either how to buy or sell a franchise or a business in general, where would they go to find you?
Well, our website is tworldminnesota.com. And they can email me directly at Altschuler@tworld.com. And we have a list of brokers on our site as well. And we have a list of businesses for sale too. So if there are buyers listening to this podcast, please go to tworldminnesota.com and look at our listings as well.
All right, that sounds great. And I will put your email in the podcast description as well. So if you're listening to this on Spotify, iTunes, or our website, you will find her email down there as well. So you can just copy and paste. Well, Laren, thank you for coming today and joining me. I know we're both in the same state, but we are doing this remote a couple hours away. So thank you for joining me over the phone today.
Well, thank you, Steve. I appreciate you having me as your guest. It's been fun.
It has. I'm sure we'll have you again sometime. That's all we have for today, everybody. We'll catch you next time right here on ATM.
You just listened to All Things Marketing Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast to catch every new episode every day. Want to be a guest on the show? Sign up at puredriven.com/guest. See you tomorrow here at the ATM.